The construction of the mighty Burj Khalifa was in full swing. The structure had somehow been raised sky-high, standing proudly like a giant in the desert. But now came the tricky part, fitting the enormous window panels. The engineers thought, well, this is not rocket science, just fixing some glass, right? So, they didn't give it much attention. But then the unexpected happened. Something no one could have imagined. The blazing heat of Dubai, combined with the towering height of the world's tallest building, turned this simple window task into a nightmare. Once the panels were placed, the temperature inside the Burj Khalifa shot up so high that stepping inside during the day was absolutely impossible. It became the biggest problem during construction, one that froze the entire interior work for a shocking 18 months. The grand project had come to a halt, and the team was drowning in trouble. Just when hope seemed to fade, a surprising solution appeared. The management and engineers found a way to overcome the disaster, and once again the dream of completing the Burj Khalifa came alive. Rising through the clouds at a jaw-dropping 2,716 feet, the Burj Khalifa was not just any building. It was a marvel of human ambition and engineering, with a cost of $1.5 billion. Yes, that's around 114 billion rupees. But more than money, this tower became known as one of the greatest engineering achievements in history. The journey of building this masterpiece was filled with countless obstacles. Each one pushed the architects, engineers, and workers to the very edge of their skill and patience. How did they face such challenges? How did they come up with solutions that seemed impossible? That is exactly what we will explore in this story. The very first challenge was time itself. The engineers were given only 6 years to complete the world's tallest building. Imagine, 6 years to dream, design, and raise a structure higher than the clouds. But here was the problem. Designing the Burj Khalifa alone could take 3 years. If half the time was spent just on design, how could the building possibly be finished in the remaining 3? So, the engineers made a daring decision. They began construction without waiting for the final design. Yes, even as the ground was dug in February 2004, the design team was still sketching, adjusting, and finalizing the details. It was a race against time where building and designing had to go hand in hand. But the moment they began laying the foundation, another huge problem appeared. Normally, tall skyscrapers rest on solid bedrock deep beneath the ground. But the land chosen for Burj Khalifa was filled with weak, sandy rock. Small, fragile stones that hardly seemed strong enough to hold up a normal building, let alone the tallest tower on Earth. Could these weak stones really carry millions of tons of steel and concrete? To solve this, the engineers turned to a simple scientific principle but used it in a massive way. The foundation was anchored on 192 giant steel piles driven 250 meters deep into the ground. Each pile shared the weight equally, so the pressure of the tower was balanced across all of them. This clever idea gave the Burj Khalifa the solid base it desperately needed. Then came the third challenge: design. The construction company, MAR, turned to one of the world's best architectural firms based in Chicago. Even for such experienced designers, the task was overwhelming. They needed a design that could not only carry the unbelievable weight of concrete and steel, but also allow natural light to fill its 160 floors. For days and nights, the team worked tirelessly until they found the solution: the buttress structure. This revolutionary design had never been used before, and Burj Khalifa was the first building in the world to adopt it. But the struggles didn't stop. As the construction climbed higher, a new problem arose. The concrete mix, which was prepared below, would dry up before reaching the upper floors. How could tons of concrete reach hundreds of meters high without losing strength? The solution was a powerful pumping system. Gigantic pipes were installed, carrying the mix from the bottom to the very top. But this was no ordinary concrete. The total weight of concrete used in Burj Khalifa was equal to the weight of 100,000 elephants. Pumping such a massive amount required the 3 most powerful pumps in the entire world, which were specially brought in for this project. 3 years had already passed since the beginning, and the challenges were only growing bigger. Yet, with every obstacle, the determination to complete the Burj Khalifa grew stronger. By the time Burj Khalifa reached its 140th floor, it had already broken the world record for being the tallest building on Earth. But a strange problem suddenly appeared. The cranes being used could only lift material up to the 120th floor. Beyond that, they were simply useless. As if that wasn't enough, the crane operators themselves refused to work at such terrifying heights. The solution? The HR team searched the entire world and brought in special crane operators who had one thing in common. They had absolutely no fear of heights. These brave workers spoke different languages, came from different places, but they all shared one fearless spirit. Imagine being 700 meters above the ground and still enjoying a 12-hour work shift. It was said about one operator that he even dreamed inside the crane cabin. That's how much they loved working in the clouds. Challenge number 6 was just around the corner. Only 2 years were left before the grand launch. The structure was ready, but one thing was missing: the glass panels. Yes, the mighty Burj Khalifa needed 24,000 glass panels. But the moment workers started installing them, a terrible issue arose. Because of Dubai's burning sun and the tower's height, the inside temperature soared to 100 degrees Celsius. That meant cooling the building would require 10 times more electricity. For 18 long months, engineers searched for a solution. Then, a genius named John Irfan stepped forward and said, "I have the answer, but it will cost a fortune." With no other choice, the management accepted his plan. John designed a special type of glass that reflected harmful UV rays away. But each panel cost $2,000. Multiply that by 24,000 panels, and the cost reached $360 million. To handle such an enormous task, an entire factory was built just to manufacture these panels. And in only 4 months, all the aluminum glass panels were ready. Then came challenge number 7. The final test. Burj Khalifa was almost complete, but its top was unfinished. A solid steel spire, 136 meters long and weighing 350 tons, had to be placed at the very peak. But there was no crane in the world capable of lifting such a massive piece above the clouds. Yet, without it, the tower would never be complete. So, the engineers came up with a bold idea. The spire would be built in smaller sections, carried up through the building, and then reassembled right at the top. Piece by piece, the sections were lifted, and finally the spire was joined together to crown the tallest building in the world. Challenge number 8 was cleaning. After years of dust, sweat, and construction, Burj Khalifa was covered in dirt. How could anyone possibly clean the tallest building on Earth? There was no special machine or robot for this. The only solution was manpower. Workers were tied with ropes and lowered from above, scrubbing and polishing all 24,000 windows by hand. Even today, this incredible job of cleaning Burj Khalifa is still done by brave men hanging in the air. And now, at last, the tower was complete. But the story of Burj Khalifa doesn't end there. Let's explore some amazing facts about the world's tallest building. At one time, more than 12,000 workers were working on it together. Its height is equal to 3 Eiffel Towers stacked one on top of the other. The 24,000 glass panels used weigh as much as 358 airplanes combined. The highest restaurant in the world is inside Burj Khalifa. Its elevators are among the fastest on Earth, carrying visitors at lightning speed. The observation terrace automatically closes during strong winds because the gusts at the top can be as fierce as a Category 1 hurricane. On clear days, the spire of Burj Khalifa can be seen from 100 kilometers away. And here's a fun fact. The spot where Burj Khalifa now stands was once a military headquarters. Another wonder is that from this magical building, you can see 2 sunsets in one day. Once from the base and once again from the very top. And with that, we come to the end of this incredible journey. I hope you enjoyed learning about the marvels and challenges of building Burj Khalifa. Thank you for your kind comments and love. Don't forget to like this video, and I'll see you again in another amazing story.